Welcome to the continued podcast adventures of Superhero Speak.
But I think many of the people that love this character and that love superheroes in general have used these stories as inspiration to say, you know what, I'm going to do something good in the world. I'm going to make a difference like my hero when I was a kid.
That is my fondest memory of it, because when you're doing comic books, you want them to affect people, right? You want people to care. You want to strike emotions, and I knew that Clone Saga was striking a lot of emotions.
Can you imagine Pulp Fiction starring Goofy and Mickey Mouse?
I can totally imagine that.
I'm sure somebody's written that one
quarter
too.
pounder with cheese in France, Mickey? What? Royale with cheese, Mickey. Yeah, I can totally.
See?
I would watch the hell out of that movie.
Yes, I gladly sacrifice up my progeny to you, almighty Marvel beast.
But Neil Adams is somewhere going, it's my time.
How do you measure success? Hey everyone, and welcome to Superhero Speak. I'm your host Dave.
And John.
And JD here for your listening pleasure. We have all the easy hits.
Pleasure.
Coming to you live on Superheroes. And I am your special werewolf correspondent. I want to keep that going because I really liked it. Where did you find that, by the way? That picture for this
Believe it or not,
episode. That was
believe
fantastic.
Believe it or not, I Googled werewolf correspondent, and that was like the first image that popped up.
I saw that and I went, well, I have to ask about this because it's perfect.
It was perfect. I had to use it.
So perfect. I thought about making it an NFT. And then I realized I don't own it, and that's bullshit. So, I didn't.
Yeah. Chief werewolf correspondent or senior werewolf correspondent. It's a take on Jon Stewart, the early days of the Daily Show. They came up with that. Everybody was a senior correspondent of biomechanics or Karens. It's just chief correspondent.
All I know is at one point in the show last week we actually said special werewolf correspondent, so that's why I went with that for the title.
That works.
Oh, I liked it. I was a big fan.
Definitely works.
When are you going to get your business cards?
Thursday.
Mine already say Chief DC apologist, right?
Yes.
I'm gonna change my Twitter handle right now.
Mine is
Awesome.
CEO Chief. What was it? Cat Wrangler.
Special werewolf.
All right, we're off the rails and we haven't even started. So, how's everyone doing this week? Since JD's looking up or updating his Twitter, how are you, John?
I got a gift this week. My Little Pony Generation 5 started. It was like coming home. It's on Netflix. It's an hour and a 40-minute movie to kick off Generation 5. And they did such a good job that I think that the whole fan base is going to move over to that. Like they're going to accept it, it seems. Although the problem is that the movie, the main characters were done by a lot of really famous people. And I don't think for a series that they start after that, they're going to keep like Vanessa Hudgens and all these other, high-end names.
Is there a lot of division in the brony community, John?
There was, because it went from flash type animation, right? The same kind of stuff they do for South Park, which has its pros and cons, to now it's all 3D, and the promos. Let me put it to you this way.
It's like the Crips and Bloods, man.
It is. Let me put it to you this way.
Each other in the streets.
Zack Snyder can do a really, really good promo for something to make you want to watch it. Comparing the promos to the kickoff for the G5 movie and the actual movie itself, Hasbro and Netflix cannot do promos for crap.
I've never made fun of anyone for their interests, but I'm struggling here, man. It is rough.
Did you ever watch Bob's Burgers? Did you ever see the episode where they kind of touched on the brony stuff?
No, but now I want to see it.
I have never seen an episode of Bob's Burgers.
Well, all I know is I can't remember the whole premise, but the older daughter, and I can't remember the names off the top of my head. Somehow one of her ponies got stolen, and she had to go to this brony convention to get it back. And there's all these guys dressed up as as My Little Pony type characters. They didn't use My Little Pony. It was something else, but it was like that was the idea. And they're at this like rave, and there's all these guys, all these people dressed up as. It was weird.
Everybody makes fun of it until somebody actually watches a couple of episodes, and then they get it. I have never met somebody who actually watched a few episodes who came back and made who would make fun of it after.
Crotch shot.
Yeah.
My phone's about to die. I was looking for.
That's the kind of respect I get here. So
you get a JD crotch shot.
It's the podcast. I'm not supposed to stare at you the whole time. We didn't even look at each other the first 2 years of this show.
I can say, if you like it, fine.
Yes.
I just don't understand the obsession.
Because in a world that really, really sucks, this is like a ray of sunlight.
Fair. How am I going to argue that? How am I going to fight that?
All right. So that
it makes people happy, and there's very, very little,
And that description makes me understand why someone like John loves it.
Let me put it this way. It's like a package of Oreo cookies and a glass of milk. That's what it's like.
I would call that, as a sufferer of celiac disease, I would call that diarrhea.
Damn it.
You set me up, man. I mean, I had nowhere else to go with that.
No, that was fair enough. Fair game.
Anything else interesting happened to you this week, John, or just My Little Pony is back and you're
nothing really
as good as that?
Well, we've had like this last month and a half. Like every time I go to Facebook, there's another person dying that I like. Makes me feel old. So, like Howard Hessman, you're just pointing out.
Howard Hessman, Dr. Johnny Fever.
Yeah,
from head of the class, whose name I can't remember at the moment.
No, I don't remember the name of the character either. But yeah, and he will always be part of the funniest, or one of the funniest moments from TV ever. One of the greatest comedy skits of all time. That I think that comedy skit is right up there with Who's on First. Really, seriously. For the love of God is my witness. Mm-hmm. I swore turkeys could fly. Yeah. Yep.
It's one of the greatest single lines in sitcom history.
Yeah.
Like when I forget why this came up. We talked about WKRP maybe around Thanksgiving. Actually.
I think it was probably around Thanksgiving because how can you not mention it during Thanksgiving?
We discussed this, and I'll be damned if that show doesn't hold up. I mean, it's 40-year-old show, but the humor holds up remarkably well. It is really funny. Like even in 2022 standards, like it's because I missed it. Like I that was not really a thing when I was growing up because I'm too young. But the few bits I have seen, I really liked it. It's really funny. I'm making an effort to go back and watch WKRP in Cincinnati. And now that the good doctor has passed, I think I owe it to him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would do that too. It's wow.
Yeah. And it's funny because like, obviously it's the late 70s, early 80s, and he's playing a burnout type character. Not like Ignikowski from Taxi.
I was going to say that. Yeah. Not like Christopher Lloyd from Taxi.
But just a different, but more of a realistic type of burnout. And he plays it. An aging hippie, that's it, an aging hippie, and he plays it so straight. It's one of the things that makes the show. So
everybody played everything straight.
That's what makes good comedy. Is everybody treats it so seriously. Yeah.
So
did you know he was 81?
Yeah.
He was in his late 30s, early 40s when that show kicked off.
Yeah, he was already hysterical.
Oh, he was. Yes, accurate. Great show.
So now that John brought us down, how are you doing, JD?
Oh, today was a little bit of a struggle. My little buddy had his first really rough because it was their second wrestling tournament ever, and he did not perform very well today. So we had to swallow some pride and learn some lessons. And as a dad, it was hard, but we're doing better. We're okay. We snuggled when we got home and watched some How to Train Your Dragon, which John's right. The show and the movies are both phenomenal.
I told you.
Yeah, they're really good. They're really good. So we're doing better. And then he hung up because all the kids get medals, and he hung up his medal on the other side and goes, "This is the bad side of the room."
Oh,
no, he wants it up there. He's like, when I look at this, I know I have to do better. So I'm like, you don't have to put it up, buddy. We don't even have to bring it home if you don't want to. Kevin's like, good, I'm gonna throw it away. And then he brought it home. He's like, no, I have to look at that. I'm like, he's so serious sometimes for a kindergartner. And I'm like, all right, whatever. Other than that, my high school team gets started with the state finals. We ranked first in the state going into this weekend where everything gets rolling. I'm pretty excited. Been working for 18 years for this next 4 weeks. So
damn,
it's exciting.
Awesome.
Writing is good. Got some new covers and some new books.
Yes, I saw you're asking people on their opinions on the covers.
So here's what I did. This is the reason I'm doing this is I did it last time. I put these books out 2 years ago and they failed them. And I did kind of what they said is to, right, you put out the, you do this, you do that. And I follow the paint by numbers and it didn't work. Right. Like these books, like nobody read. So I put them away and I worked on other stuff and I came back to them. I'm like, you know what? I think I can fix these. I think I can do better. So I did a rewrite, got a new editor. And I think they're so much better than they were before. But then with the book covers, I wasn't happy with the tropes I was following last time. So I went with a different way, and I'm way happier with this. And we'll see. I mean, you never know. You never know it's going to work until you put it out. But I feel a lot better this time around than I felt last time. So when the Kickstarter goes live later in the spring, we'll see what happens.
Cool.
How are you, Dave?
I'm doing well. Actually, I forgot to ask John how he made out in the nor'easter that we had here.
I got 5 inches. I'm very disappointed. It's been so long since I've gone out and seen like a foot or two outside, and it's.
Speaking as a 47-year-old man, I'm glad I didn't have to shovel 2 feet of snow.
You don't shovel; you get a snowblower.
I don't have enough property to justify a snowblower.
There's always enough property to justify a snowblower.
I'm with John on this. I have a snowblower and I love it. And I hate shoveling. I don't know about you guys out the east, but we get the thick packing snow this time of year and it sucks.
No, this was actually really light and powdery. It was actually pretty easy to shovel.
We get all types of snow here.
Yeah,
so it's like this time we had the bomb cyclone because the Arctic the Arctic wind came down. So it was so cold. Normally they measure snow 1 inch of rain equals a foot of snow. It was so cold that they said 1 inch of rain equals 2 feet of snow because the colder it gets, the fluffier the snow is. So.
Yeah. We had it so cold here. We had a late school start day. I believe it felt like -20 outside.
Oh my God!
Wow!
It was like -7, but the wind chill was nasty.
I've seen.
Nice. I got to sleep in.
Yeah.
I think the lowest I've ever seen it here is -4, like as without wind chill. But that's rare here.
We've had it here like legit -20.
Ugh.
Yikes!
It's 22 outside right now. Here, so
and I sent pictures to my friend Island in Texas, and it's like 5 inches of snow, and you can see how little snow there is because I shoveled my driveway. And she's like, "You got buried by snow?" Yeah, okay, man. Because she's in Texas.
It's also 22 here in Davis Junction, Illinois.
Oh, there you go.
Actually, it's going down to 11 tonight here. So
11? We'll get into that later.
Polar vortex.
We will hit 11 as well. Come 6 a.m, which sucks because I got to get the kid to school at that.
Yeah.
Yep. Old men discussing the weather. I'm sure that's what everybody's tuned in.
Let's see. What else tonight?
I bet there's a pod for that.
There probably is.
What else? I didn't really do much this week. Yeah. Oh, I have to. I'm under instructions. I have to say that my girlfriend is awesome. That's.
Why do you need instructions for that? That should be something you know.
Because she's listening to the show now.
Yeah, but you should just know that, like, you don't.
No, we were talking.
You don't take the chance that she won't listen to an episode.
Right before I got on, and she's like, "Well, make sure you tell her at the top of the show. Make sure you remind everyone that your girlfriend is awesome."
I'm glad that you're happy again, Dave. But not super glad.
But yeah, no, yeah. Well, that's the thing. Her brother was visiting from South Carolina, so she was busy with him all week. So I didn't see him. So I just kind of watched TV and didn't do much. Some stuff around the house. So we will get into what I watched on TV later.
Was it My Little Pony Generation?
No. John, do you read the show notes?
No.
Yeah, I know that.
Dave's gonna shed on one of the most critically acclaimed shows of this generation. Should be an interesting show.
Yes, make sure you stick around for that. But I also caught up on Boba Fett and, of course, Peacemaker.
Me too.
You're totally caught up on both?
Not only that, I watched half the Batman Robin because I saw Don and Ray were both talking about Batman on Twitter this weekend, and I went, "Oh crap, we're doing it this week. I got to watch this movie." I got halfway through it and said, "I can't do this." And then I got Dave's DM, and I'm like, "Oh, I'm watching the wrong thing." Guys, I'm not looking forward to this Batman and Robin show. Let's just leave it at that.
I know I've been putting it off, but we've got to finish it out.
It's actually sometimes you watch something and you look back and go, this like Superman 3. It's not as bad as that. It's bad, but it's not as bad as I thought. Batman and Robin might be worse.
I remember I think I've watched it once since I saw it in the theaters.
Me too.
And I remember when the ice rink scene.
Oh God, no.
And they put their feet together. They clap the feet together, and the blades come out. But I also remember when they get knocked over, they actually add a whoop sound as they fall over, and that was like, I'm done. That's when I was like,
similar situation when Bane threw. I remember I was a teenager being in the theater when this happened, and Bane threw a guy, and the dude went boing, and the boing is when I'm like, I can't. I mean, like, I couldn't do it. I'm like, this is the worst thing.
Like, all right, let's save it for the movie, guys.
Well, I was saying, yeah. I mean, I want to say this in case I forget. If I forget it for next week, again, he definitely was trying to go for the '60s Batman feel, but instead of putting up the word balloons, he added the sound effects. So
and cocaine.
Do we get to do the next Batman after that?
Please, dear God, let us watch Batman Begins after doing this to us.
We need a palate cleanser. We definitely.
Well, I was going to suggest we go all the way back into Batman the movie before we do Batman Begins.
I'm camped out. I've got halfway through this movie. I still have to watch the other half, and I cannot.
Oh, come on!
I can't tolerate any more camp. I can't do it. I can't.
Because some days you just can't get rid of a bomb.
No, that's true. Some days you cannot get rid of a bomb. Hence, we're talking about Batman and Robin in 2022.
Nice.
Thank you.
All right, so Boba Fett.
Where? Sorry, that's the line.
We took a left turn this week and got an episode of The Mandalorian.
Yeah, I was gonna say this is the best episode of the season because it was an episode of The Mandalorian. Now, it really made me realize how much better of a show The Mandalorian truly is than Boba Fett. And again, Boba Fett it's fine, but it's not as good.
Again, I go back to, I think there was expectations for Boba Fett that weren't met. The Mandalorian, you don't have expectations because he's a new character.
That's very accurate. And he's a character that won us all over, right? So now we have Vest. So I remember last week's episode, which I saw this week as well, when you see the ship, you hear that like semi-Eastwoody, kind of like that. It's the intro to his music, and you're like, oh, Mando, And I immediately perked up when I heard it. And I didn't realize this. I did not realize this entire episode was just going to be an episode of The Mandalorian.
I was actually shocked. I thought when he first landed on Tatooine, like, okay, now we're done with the Mandalorian stuff. He's going to meet up with Boba Fett, and the second half of this episode will be him explaining and them talking or whatever. And it was like, nope, we're going to build a spaceship, and you're going to watch us build a spaceship.
Out of parts of stuff you've seen before, parts of Anakin's pod racer, parts of the ships from Phantom Menace. Little bit of X-wing junkage.
Do you know who directed that episode of Boba Fett?
Favreau wrote it. I don't know who directed.
Bryce Dallas Howard.
I did see that. I forgot. Yes.
Yeah, she's directed a lot of this stuff.
The reason why this one was good. It was written by Favreau and directed by Bryce Dallas Howard.
Mm-hmm.
Because she directed some of the really good episodes in The Mandalorian too the last couple of years.
Yeah. So
she's working her way up there.
She's good. She's a very talented director.
Yeah. She's not a bad actress either.
Oh,
very talented.
Another Easter egg about this episode: the younger X-wing pilot is the body double for Luke Skywalker from the last episode of The Mandalorian.
Good for him for getting more work. How about the older X-wing pilot? Do we know him?
No, I think he was in the episode of The Mandalorian, but I don't know if he's anyone.
Something vaguely familiar about him, but I couldn't place it, so I just kind of left it on. I just forgot about it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it's not Porkins.
No, Porkins died, so it definitely wasn't Porkins.
He died fighting the Death Star.
He did. And if he hadn't died then, he'd probably be dead now because Porkins, lived up to his name. Coronary diseases and serious.
So,
except when I make it a joke.
Yeah.
All right, hold on. Quick sidebar. Could they get away with calling a heavy character Porkins today?
No.
100%
no. People would be up in arms, pissed.
Yeah. Okay.
I can't believe they got away with it in the 70s, to be quite honest with you. Porkins? This guy's name is Porkins?
Yeah. What?
Remember, one of the biggest movies in 1974 was Blazing Saddles.
Also, Porky's came later.
Yes.
True.
So we actually watched The Mandalorian get pulled over in this episode, and that was a major plot point.
Yes.
Was it routine traffic?
So it was a routine traffic stop. Was a plot point to the episode.
I sat there and went, "This is what we've reached in Star Wars: traffic stops."
We have nothing else interesting to talk about in Star Wars, so here's a traffic stop.
I was a little flabbergasted by it. I'm like, I'm really watching, and the part was like, why do X-wing fighters have the authority to pull people over on Tatooine? That was never their job, but I guess they got to do something now.
Go ahead, John.
No, it's okay. Go ahead.
No, I don't like that aspect that they're making them policemen now. Like that just
I kind of
seems
agree.
weird.
I agree with you. I thought it was an interesting choice. I don't know if it was
John.
Go ahead, John.
Well, no, I'm just kind of disappointed with the fact that the Mandalorian is the Boba Fett that we wanted.
I don't know. I'm warming up to what this Boba Fett is. I mean, like he has a character arc, and he never had a character before. I think there's a lot to. So like anytime that you have like a big dark character, like when I say dark, I mean like a mysterious character, and you like reveal stuff about them, the mystique is lost, and you can never quite replace what you've imagined. Right. So whatever they do, it kind of loses a little bit. Like anytime you have like a big monster, you reveal like the monster's history, you lose something a little bit with it. Right.
Yeah, but he's still supposed to be a monster, and he hasn't really I
don't think he's supposed to be a monster in this show. I think he's supposed to be like an anti-hero at worst, but I mean he's the protagonist, and there's nothing evil about him. But I don't mean like anti-hero. Like you see him as a man of action, and I know that the actor is a little, getting older, but you expect with Boba Fett that he's kicking ass left and right, you don't expect him to go into trade negotiations. Yeah, this show has definitely not been what you expected. Although I thought the last episode was pretty good. I like the second one.
I understand people's expectations because of where they've put Boba Fett. But what ass did he kick in the 2 movies that he was in?
No asses were kicked. He ambushed, like Darth Vader essentially caught him. In Empire Strikes Back, and then he falls into the Sarlacc.
Well, wait a minute.
Pretty much it.
What about the Christmas special? He was in the Christmas special.
That's 7 people have seen.
Yeah, I know.
Lucasfilm disavowed its knowledge, like the black sheep of the family, for 2 generations. And Disney finally said, "Yes, that's the thing. Will you be releasing it?" Oh, of course.
Right.
Like,
I don't even think it's considered canon anymore.
Well, I should hope not. That thing, everything about that should not be considered canon.
I'd like to consider
canon fodder, if anything.
Yes. So I mean, that's the thing. Like, I get it. Like, there's something about a character who's covered from head to toe, so he could be anyone under the mask, and he just stands around with a gun looking badass. I get it, but yeah, Vader caught him, froze him, and then he escapes not escape. He flies away on Slave One. He stands in Jabba's palace. He goes and starts shooting at Luke, gets his gun shot, gets knocked by Han Solo into the skiff, and then falls into the sandpit. Like,
to be fair, Lucas never intended for Boba Fett to be this badass cultural icon.
Well, no, it's the fans that drove it.
Right, right. So you can't blame.
Again, that's the entire culture, the brony culture. Most of the characters that came up in the no, I'm serious. This is what happens with real fandoms. Like, and because a lot of the background characters in the first season were given full backstories by the fandom, and they basically had campaigns to get those characters into as first class characters in later episodes of My Little Pony Generation 4. So, and they became large, very important characters later on because of the fandom. That's what happened with Boba Fett. The fans just took a shine to him, and gave him backstories and thought they made a big deal out of him, and that's where we are now.
To be frank, the same thing happened with Vader in the prequel trilogy, right? When people learned that Darth Vader was, a whiny little kid, a spoiled, rotten little whiner, they were disappointed. But at the same time, wouldn't that, like, I've always thought the origin for Darth Vader fit, right?
Yeah.
Like, I've never had an issue, like, other than, some of the wooden directing. Like, I think that, but this is it. Like, Darth Vader is not what we thought he was. Like, everybody points to Darth Vader in Rogue One and assumes that is Darth Vader. But that's never really been Darth Vader, with the exception of that one sequence.
Well, that's who he is as Darth Vader, but his backstory that's what a whining kid turns into. When you give him ultimate power, right?
Absolutely. I've always thought it was a really nice cautionary tale, to be quite frank.
I mean, it's funny too, because people complain about Luke in New Hope or Star Wars.
He's a little
whiny. Being whiny, and it's like, well, then of course his father was probably whiny when he was a teenager too.
I think that was Lucas doing that on purpose. Like, oh, you think Luke's whiny, so you think Luke is whiny? Wait, wait
till you meet his father.
And it's like, but it makes sense. Like, all these sociopaths, right? They aren't exactly great kids.
No,
great kids don't become sociopaths.
Actually,
episode title.
I was watching TV with my girlfriend, and we were flipping around, and then all of a sudden, the end of Revenge of the Sith was on.
Yeah, it was on TNT this week. I did.
Yes,
it too. It was on before wrestling,
and it was like it was literally like the end of the movie. And she's like, "Oh, stop!" I'm like, "Okay." And she's like, "This is my favorite one." Wow. And I'm looking at her, and I'm like, "Wait, what's your favorite part? When he kills all the little kids?"
Is your girlfriend 30 by chance? Like,
no, she's my age. We're the same age.
I do think the Return of the Sith, Revenge of the Sith, is the best of the prequel trilogy.
The best of the prequel, but it's not the best.
Yeah, the Act 3. I still think Act 3 is pretty good. Like, if Vader just screams instead of saying no, like, it would have been so much better. Like, if they'd had the Orson Welles Unicron scream where stuff breaks, that'd have been fine. But the no, especially with James Earl Jones's, dark voice. No.
That was a very interesting choice to do that. I don't know.
It was a poor choice. Because it was laughable. It's still laughable.
Like a scream in anger would have made more sense than no.
Yeah. Like I compare it to Orson Welles' Unicron. Like that would have been the choice of no like that. It's just like it's understandable. Like I get why it was in the script, but everyone should have heard that. Like the audio engineer should have heard James Earl Jones, been like, "Look, can we just do another take of something just to have it?"
Right, just to try it.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the thing with Lucas. Lucas thinks he's right. He's going to go with it. But man, it just didn't work. But a lot of the rest of stuff in Sith, I think, works. Like he butchers children.
Yes.
In a Star Wars film, he butchers children. That's hardcore.
Yeah. But, and another great example of a character who's covered from head to toe that like kids latched onto and because anyone could be under, not Spider-Man, but I was going to say Snake Eyes from G.I. Joe.
Oh yeah. Snake Eyes. Yeah.
Like, and I've seen stuff before, but they talk about that was a brilliant move. Like an all black character, completely covered, like put him out and just unknown on his origin card or classified. And like kids loved it.
He doesn't talk.
Right.
Like in the cartoon, like Larry Hama, one of the most famous comic book experiments in history, the silent issue of G.I. Joe.
Yep.
That's John, are you aware of this book?
No.
Just Larry Hama wrote an issue of G.I. Joe with no dialogue, no word balloons, and no captions.
Oh, Gennady Tartakovsky's done that with.
Yes, but he did this in 1985.
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
Like he pioneered this. Like Larry Hama did this in an era where everybody, not only were people writing, like not only was there writing on every page, but if you read like a Chris Claremont book, there was dialogues and there was thought balloons and there was captions and like it's like reading a book.
There were notes in the ledger,
editor notes, and it's like there's so much like copy on the page. And Larry Hama comes along with the Snake Eyes story with nothing and just lets the art tell the story.
Yeah,
nice.
Like I said, 1985. It's a bold choice.
Larry Hama was a bald man. I'm bold.
I think he's got hair. Actually, I think he
does. Yes, he does.
Handsome man.
So again, Boba Fett, we projected all these thoughts on him, all these ideas, what we wanted him to be. I mean, people complain about the actor playing him. I'm like, you realize that's the guy who all the clones look like. That's what he would like. It had to be him.
It has to be him. Could be no one else but him. It had to be Tenora Morrison because George Lucas made the call 20 years ago that this is Jango.
Right.
So
exactly.
You had no other choice.
I mean, the only argument is, how many years after Jedi is this? Like, what he is a little old for the role, but
that's the point, though.
Yeah.
He's supposed to be kind of old.
So. So
I wish the show was better, but I don't think it's bad.
No, it's not bad. It's this. The problem is exactly as you've described. It's a comparison between what people expected it to be and what it is. What it is good. It's just not as good as people expected it to be. But that it was overhyped by the fandom, not by Disney. It was overhyped by the fandom themselves.
And that's hard. It's hard to live up to expectations, and we see this a lot. where things fall under expectation. And oftentimes things that don't have super expectations can wow us. WandaVision, for example, nobody knew what quite to make of that when we were advertising it a year ago. And that wound up, I still think it's my favorite of the Disney series, right?
Yeah.
Because it was just so damn different than everything else we've gotten before. Again, to each their own. What I like about these things, they're all a little different. I'll tell you what's, I think, better than all of them. Controversial statement, hot take here. Peacemaker.
Oh, look at JD with the segue.
I've learned from the master, Dave. Thank you.
Better than all of them? That is a bold statement.
I find that because I'm not. This is me personally. You guys know that. Like, did you watch this? No, I missed it. If it's not top of mind for me, I'll let it slide by the wayside. I don't let Peacemaker slide by the wayside. Like, I make time to watch Peacemaker. I really enjoy the irreverence and the plot. Quite frankly, like, this episode was freaking fantastic.
Yes, I mean, and the thing is too, like, even like so far the things I see coming, like I can't think of the character's name, the boss of the team. I saw it coming that when they were showing
butterfly,
he was going to be a butterfly. When they were showing everyone alone, because he also acted weird after he got hit with the bomb, and they went back to him to check on him. He was acting weird, and I'm like, he's a butterfly. And then
that's Clemson Morn, right? Clemson Morn is the butterfly. Like he's the head of the guy. He's the head guy.
Yeah.
Clemson Morn.
And then when Peacemaker was using the X-ray helmet in the last episode that allowed him to see the butterflies in the people, I'm like, that's going to come into play with them finding out he's the butterfly.
I did not see that coming, but when she put it on, I went, oh,
here we go. Yeah.
Yes. It was good. So this is one of my favorite like writing tropes is you've got this group of people that hate each other, and then they have this bonding moment, right? And they're growing together, and then you take that and throw it out the window, and you throw another wrench. Like, this is what makes serialized, not just serious fiction, but all fiction work, is that you create a problem, you solve the problem. Like, you've got this team together, and now it's falling apart again. And that's when you get some really fun stuff.
But isn't that like the second act breakup or something? I mean,
something like that. There's like, I don't, it's hard to say what act you're on until the thing is done and you can go back and analyze that. It's hard to break that stuff down in the moment. Like, cause I don't think anyone's conscious of acts while they're imbibing a thing,
Right.
But I think when you look back, I think you could actually make that argument. I have my 3-act structure chart. Like, I'll give you the exact 3. Continue to talk. I'll interrupt.
And I don't know how many episodes the whole thing is, and I'm like curious where they're going with it.
The midpoint big twist.
Yeah. In the middle of Act 2.
Yeah.
So, because like, again, how's one little team supposed to stop an alien invasion?
Yeah, I don't know. They've made this problem so huge. I don't see how they can win, but maybe that's the point, because it is essentially the Suicide Squad. They might not supposed to win.
Well, we don't know what right now. All we know is Judo Master, the little thing he got to say before they knocked him out, which is the butterflies aren't what you think. And then we've got, this may be a butterfly civil war that they're acting out on Earth.
Butterfly civil war.
I didn't think about that. I mean, like, we don't have anything from the antagonist's point of view yet.
Right. But why would the butterfly in the head of the main guy, in Clemson, why is that going after the food supply for the other butterflies, right?
Yeah, I don't know. There's something else. There's definitely something else going on. Yeah.
That would presuppose there's like 2 factions of them.
Yeah, that's true too. Like, I was questioning that at one point, like, wait a minute. We know he's a butterfly, but yet he is telling them to go after that food supply
and telling them to murder them. Like, when the family was like, when he saw them drinking, he's like, oh no, they're butterflies, murder them now, all of them. So, there's definitely 2 factions here.
Or the butterflies are not loyal to their own, or I don't know, man. There's definitely something else afoot, which is what I like about this, is we're about halfway through and there's still stuff being unraveled, right? There's still questions to be asked. And like, so the plot is moving at a good pace, but I'll say to the cows come home that, character is what it's all about. And I think the characters in this show are so good and so interesting.
Yeah.
It really sells this. Like, seen as great as Peacemaker. Like, but I really like the dimensions of the Peacemaker character, and we're seeing him grow. I really like. I always forget her name. Our main female protagonist.
Yeah, Amelia Hardcourt.
Not Hardcourt. Now Hardcourt's interesting too. We're just starting to correct the word. No.
Yeah, Leota Adebayo.
I can never say that name. Yeah, she's interesting too. And I love. We have our Kramer, right? Vigilante is our Kramer.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I didn't think of it that way. Yes.
Yeah. And we even had some stuff with Dyed Beard and Peacemaker. Like, we had Resolution. We saw a giant gorilla who I believed might have been Grodd for a moment before a chainsaw went through his chest.
Yeah.
And then I said, "Oh, that is not Grodd."
Yeah, they're not going to kill off Grodd like that.
But he did speak, so.
Yes, but he was being controlled by a butterfly.
Yeah, so he's not actually Grodd.
So he's not what you're saying is he's not an ape from Ape City, right?
Gorilla City, yes.
Gorilla City, yeah.
But I think we're being teased with the potential Grodd.
Yes.
Right? I think we're being warmed up for Grodd. And it's Gunn, so perhaps we will get Grodd at some point.
Well, if Batmite and what else? And Matter Eater Lad exist in this universe, then everything's on the table. If you're talking future Legionnaires and fifth dimensional imps, then there's literally nothing else that probably doesn't exist in this world.
I saw him eat an entire Wendy's. Oh my God. But notice even he couldn't stomach an Arby's. So, What an odd character just in general. Matter Eater Lad.
I love the Legion. Like, the fact that we're mentioning the Legion is curious. Very curious.
Curious?
You think we'll get a Superboy or an actual Legion?
I don't know. I know they tease the Legion on Supergirl, but it's so CWE. I can't pay attention to that. But I love the Legion. I think there's nothing in comics and now in this media quite like the Legion. Right? I think it would be a cool thing to try because it's a different take on what we have. Right? It's the club of superheroes.
Maybe the Legion comes back and tells Peacemaker how they defeat him.
I don't know. That's I think that would come out way out of left field. But
but you're right. We did have Legion in Supergirl, right?
We did have Legion.
Yeah.
But we had Legion in Smallville too. It's not quite what I would want from a Legion show on its own or something.
Yeah.
But hey, we're doing something with the characters, which is more than I can say for the comics mostly.
This is true. So yeah, and then of course he has a little pet butterfly.
He does have that pet butterfly.
Yes.
That he's got
I keep thinking that thing's going to escape and take over his eagle or something. I mean, Eagle here.
That would be heartbreaking if we had to kill Eagly.
I know.
Yes. He's probably the most important character of the show.
Well, you know how it goes in these things. You make people care about an animal, and you can't do anything with the animal.
No, we learned that with Bambi's mother.
Yeah. Well, unless you're Stephen King and you embrace it.
Or you're ready to introduce John Wick into your show. It's like, you killed that.
You killed Eagly.
I wouldn't, honestly. You should put that past James Gunn.
No. Come on. He caught him a squirrel to make him feel better.
He did do that. It made me. But this is the same guy that killed Groot.
Yep.
Don't forget that. Baby Groot is not original Groot.
I know. I want to pretend he's original Groot.
So yeah, the shows this week were good. I mean, it's funny because I think that HBO Max has the better show right now. I think Peacemaker is definitely the better show than Boba Fett.
Yeah, I'll say that.
I wasn't expecting that. Again, maybe because I had fairly, not low, but I wasn't excited for Peacemaker. Mm-hmm. So it's over-exceeded what I expected from it, where Boba Fett, like we've talked about, doesn't.
It's under-exceeded.
Yeah, it's
underperformed.
But by no fault of its own. Well, it's just, I would say no fault of its own, but then then this week's episode was basically Mandalorian, and you're like, oh my God, the Mandalorian was such a great show. It is so good. And we get the Darksaber, and we get the Legend of Mandalore, and they're setting up season 3 of the Mandalorian. And I'm like, oh good, Mando's here to save this show.
Ratings are going down. Time for a cameo.
Well, that's the thing too, because I saw someone mention that on social media, and I'm like, no, they film these things way in advance, as a whole. There's no way that they snuck this in because they knew the ratings were going to be bad.
No,
this is part of it because again, Mando is kind of he's our linchpin of the Star Wars television universe. So like with Poochie, when Poochie's not on screen, everybody should be asking, "Where is Poochie?"
Always trying to sneak in those Poochie references.
Hey man, Poochie is a cultural touchstone that should never have been one.
Exactly. All right.
Well,
so go ahead.
No, I'm saved. No, never mind. We can continue out talking about Peacemaker. What else can we?
I think we covered the Peacemaker.
Yeah.
Amelia Harcourt is nice to look at.
Yeah. Are they going to hook up?
I hope not. She can do so much better.
Yeah, she could. That might
Then
be why
Peacemaker?
Yeah.
He's a frat boy sociopath. But that's part of the charm.
Yeah, but he's got muscles. All right.
He does have muscle.
All right. So let's move on to John's favorite topic, social media madness. So last week, there's not much this week. Last week we talked about the Moon Knight trailer and the ODPH podcast.
Ocho Duo Parlay Hour
said, costume looked great. Everything else intrigued me enough to want to watch the show.
I concur.
Yes. It wasn't, it was just enough. There's an aperitif. Just enough to wet your whistle.
A little French for you on your Sunday evening or Wednesday afternoon, whatever you're listening to.
So a little wet your whistle and get you interested in more. So, yeah. And then, of course, there was discussion about X-Men working better as a movie or a TV show. To which our good friend D Square said, the X-Men need to start.
X-Men fan, yes.
Resident X-Men expert.
Resident expert.
Resident expert.
That evolved quick.
Our resident expert said the X-Men need to start as a show so that the characters can develop and we can get a soap opera and get the soap opera stuff going. Once they are established, we need some movies.
I'm down with that. That sounds good to me. Because that's kind of the X-Men anyway, right? Is you have all your regular stuff to build the characters, then you have your event, right?
Right.
I'm down with that.
Yeah. I mean, that works. I mean, again, it's also why the Avengers movie works, because we concentrated on the character origins in separate movies and then brought them together. To which you replied, JD, focus on what's important. JD Alifa, special werewolf correspondent.
Because he got it up there. We're talking about that. And Don's like got to shoehorn his X-Men stuff, always pushing his X agenda. His X-genda.
Well, he is the resident expert.
Focus on what's important. Me. Kidding.
Someone doesn't have an ego.
No, none.
Well,
I do love this picture. This makes me look at this special werewolf correspondent picture that I can't believe is an actual thing. It's just amazing.
Well, on that note, boys and girls, if you want to see the picture that JD's talking about, or if you want to follow us on social media and be part of social media, here's our resident expert to tell you more on how you can get more superhero speak.
Enjoying the show? Want to be part of social media madness? Make sure you are following superheroespeak.com, where you can find all of the show's social media links at the top of the page. While you're there, you can check out old episodes of the podcast as well as some other great content. Check the site often, because we are posting some great comic reviews as well as comic book and movie news content every day. Make sure and follow us on Twitter at SuperheroSpeak. And while you're there, check out the rest of the Geek World All-Stars Podcast Network. You can follow them at @stars_geek. The Geek World All-Star Podcast Network include great programs such as the Pop Prison Power Podcast, Cult 45, So Wizard, Fans on Patrol, the Gorilla Brain Podcast, and of course, Superhero Speak. Search for #GWAllStars. You will not be disappointed. Now it's back to Dave and the boys on Superhero Speak.
Thank you for that, Don. And don't forget to check out the Mega Level Nerds podcast, available on YouTube and wherever podcasts are available.
I'll be very disappointed if Don does not work resident expert in his Twitter handle.
And on that note, we're going to take our first commercial break, and we'll be right back.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
All right. We're back. We have a little bit of news to talk about, and starting off, of course, talking about, of course, the Peacemaker, and James Gunn has come out this week and said he is working on another Suicide Squad spinoff for HBO Max and a season 2 for Peacemaker.
Wow.
The spinoff isn't official yet because it's just a German of idea. He hasn't written a script yet, but apparently the people over at HBO are all on board for it. So, what do you guys think of this? Would you want to see it?
Give Gunn more stuff to do.
Yeah, he's single-handedly saving this. You know.
Yes. Give Gunn a Justice League movie.
Huh? Could he do it?
Yes. Guardians.
Yes, but do DC fans want that kind of sense of humor in a Justice League movie?
I think he could pull. Does DC fans? Yes, I believe they would, because look at the Justice League animated series.
Okay.
Do I think the Zack Snyder fans? No, they don't know humor. They don't like humor. They don't like to smile. They brood.
There was humor spread throughout the Justice League and Justice League Unlimited animated series, but it wasn't like Gunn level, you know?
But it doesn't have to be Gunn level. I don't think Gunn, I don't like Brightburn, right? Gunn is capable of doing stuff outside of what we consider, his irreverent style of humor. I think that he could. Look at Suicide Squad, right? The Suicide Squad was a good movie, and it had the right amount of humor to make those particular characters work. But even this week is when Gunn gets serious with a major threat. Like the threat comes off. Starro was legitimately scary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The butterflies they're basically doing an Invasion of the Body Snatcher story.
Right.
And they're doing a good job of it.
Yeah,
So,
and we're pretty sure, like Starro, once butterflies in your brain, that's it. You're done, right? Like you can't come back from that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're changing them from the inside because that big.
Yeah.
They're drinking honey like Pooh Bear.
I didn't know Pooh Bear was a butterfly, but okay.
Pooh Bear the butterfly drinking honey.
I didn't know he had a proboscis.
I don't feel right, Piglet. We watch a lot of Pooh Bear in the house. Yeah. Give the man more stuff to do. I think it's a good idea. And he says, leading into the next article, that this is pretty much the end of Guardians, the next one.
That makes me sad.
3 movies in a special, I think, is plenty.
True.
So he did say in the interview, like he would do more if they want it, but he kind of alluded that like Marvel doesn't really want any more Guardians movies. So I don't know what that's about, but because he's like, I don't make the decision if there's going to be more or not, is basically what he says.
There might still be some friction from the thing.
There might be.
Oh,
I know
right.
that because like one of the people that was most vocal was Batista.
Mm-hmm.
And I think like he's kind of like done with Marvel.
Well, I think he'll come back for this one, and then he's pretty much done. That's pretty what he was saying.
Right.
He may come back for another like a big Avengers thing. If they do another Endgame level.
He said he would do something with Gunn.
Right.
And the people who work. The thing about James Gunn is like he has a bunch of people that he works with frequently who enjoy spending time with him. So that's the mark of a good director, is how often you have the same people working with you time and time again.
I kind of got the feeling like that maybe when he came, because they're currently filming it, Volume 3, and I kind of got the feeling that there might be some still awkwardness and bad blood between him and the Marvel people while he's working. So it's kind of like he's getting the impression they don't want him around, and he's thinking like, I don't really want to keep doing this if they're going to keep acting this way.
Mm-hmm.
Why with Gunn? They've done such a good job. I mean, like I know that they've not railroaded.
The thing, like the reason why they fired him.
Well, yeah, I know.
And they don't like being wrong,
Right. That's what it is. Yeah. And there are suits at Marvel, at Disney, they're just like, no, we're never wrong. And it's like, they were wrong and they don't want to admit to it.
And Feige likes being the guy. Like, say what you want about Feige. He likes being the guy in control. And, Gunn doesn't, especially now that he's done his DC movie his way. And he has a whole show doing it his way. So,
and I like it.
You come back to Marvel and it's like, well, you guys fired me and you're micromanaging me. I guess I'm just going to finish this and call it a day.
Well, that goes back to what we've talked about before, where Disney hires a bunch of directors that they can still push around a little bit, right?
They do.
So,
in a
but
lot, in a lot of cases, absolutely. And they went with I forget the name, the Chloe Zhang, and they let her kind of do her thing, and it didn't work.
And I kind of think that's part, like, it's funny. That's probably not that he would have worked with them forever, but that was probably the nail in the coffin on Disney's part too. It was like, by them getting rid of him, firing him in the first place, and then him coming back with the Suicide Squad and it being one of the biggest movies in a long time, and everyone loving it, and then he gets a spin-off TV show right after that. Like, he became even bigger. And
he doesn't need them.
He doesn't need them anymore, and like they can't push him around. Yeah, exactly. So they did it to themselves. So yeah,
more the fool they.
So it'd be interesting to see how they go forward with all this, because I mean, I still don't even know how you wrap up Guardians of the Galaxy at this point. Like, Gamora's gone essentially. I mean, she's back, but it's not the same Gamora.
Well, the fans won't be happy unless that works itself out somehow.
Yes, because we want our happy endings, right?
Well, they deserve a happy ending after everything they've been through. Come on.
Yeah. No.
You think you want a happy ending? You don't want a happy ending.
Yeah, but then again, it was Peter Quill's.
You want a happy end. Plus, too, there's a lot of people don't love Chris Pratt the way they used to. So there might be they don't. I mean, there's a lot of he's not as beloved as he was 5-6 years ago.
Why?
A lot of we live in a divisive world where people, if it's just some people don't like him for whatever reason. So it could just be a lot different. Like, everyone's in a much different place in their life right now than they were 8 years ago.
I'll never forget. I can't remember who it was. That movie he was in, The Passenger. Yeah,
where he's essentially raping Jennifer Lawrence.
Oh, well, yeah, that was not a good pick for either one of them.
Well, the thing with that was, didn't he leave his wife shortly or while he was making that movie and started dating
Schwarzenegger's daughter?
Well, I thought he dated Lawrence for a short while.
Oh, maybe he did. I don't know. I mean, usually okay, I'm going to be a little sexist for a moment, but it's the truth. Usually when those like Meg Ryan, Dennis Quaid, right? When they broke up, everyone decided Meg Ryan was bad and that her career never recovered. Right. Dennis Quaid remained Dennis Quaid. Right. But Meg Ryan's one took the hint. Like, usually when those couples break up, people tend to turn on the woman, and they didn't, and that's part of it too.
It was Anna Faris was his first one.
Yeah, but I remember watching that. I don't remember who I was with when we were watching it. Like, we were watching it at someone's house, and we were in their living room and watching it on DVD. And I can't remember who it was, but every time Jennifer Lawrence kept coming on screen, she's like, "Homewrecker," because she was blaming her for Chris Pratt breaking up with his wife, and it was just like, what? Yeah, and that's when I really started seeing there is a turn of people not liking Chris Pratt anymore. And then
there is, and there's a lot. There's a lot too. I think there's a thing too is when you're not famous and you're the less famous one in the couple, and then you get your fame, and then you leave your wife. People are kind of like, oh, fuck that,
Yeah, and I also it's funny, there are people who don't like what happened in Infinity War with the gauntlet scene.
Yeah, those people are crazy and stupid, though. That is a character. That is not the actual human being. But a lot of it too is the relationship stuff. It's the politics stuff. It's it's a lot. I mean, there's a lot of stuff, and he has not avoided controversy, even though he doesn't really court it either.
No,
it's just people decided we like other people better than him, right? There's just everyone's in a different place.
No, that's true. Yes.
So it's just. I could see that. I think this is probably a good idea to make it at the end of the ride.
Well, that was one of the things too. Because he's Christian and he makes a stink about that on social media and stuff. Not a stink about it, but he talks about it a lot.
He talks about it, and there's people that don't like that. But it's his right to talk about it.
Exactly. And then when the James Gunn stuff happened with Disney, he was one of the few that didn't come out right away.
I think that's part of it too. Is everybody came to James Gunn's defense except Chris Pratt.
But he was he didn't know where the ball was going to land, so he didn't want to rock the boat.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but that's not when you.
What doesn't it does not make you a loyal friend.
Yeah.
And again, maybe they aren't friends, but again, I guess that's the thing though is people choose sides. Again, this is the weird thing about Twitter, right, is we think we know all these famous people, but we really don't.
No, we don't.
Like, so people foolishly take these sides because they think they think these people are their friends.
Exactly.
Right? Like, I'll never understand people like tweeting at famous people. Right?
They're not reading this.
No, unless you're making fun of them or want to dunk on them, then it's perfectly acceptable. If you want to dunk on somebody, do your thing. But if you think you're like having conversations with them, it's weird, man. It's really weird. So, but yeah, we think that like people think because they have like semi access to celebrities that they're buddies with them. It's an awkward thing, and they choose sides in all this. It's weird.
Yeah, I know.
The whole thing is weird.
Yeah, I mean, look at the Amber Heard Johnny Depp situation too.
What a mess that is.
Yeah.
They're both nuts.
Stay 500 meters away from that one at all times. Like, like you say, we don't really know these people. Yeah, we have no idea what's going on there.
Yeah, but I mean,
they know what's going on there. So,
but I'm saying you see people like on social media all the time in one of the two like camps, and it's just like, but you don't know them. Why do you like? It's a couple who has a messy relationship.
There's two things. One, like sometimes people do invest because they do feel like a connection to people. Two, it's a tabloid culture. You like seeing celebrities miserable because they have so much. No, it's true. That's tabloid culture. You like seeing celebrities suffer a little bit.
Yeah.
Because it makes you feel good when you see the rich and the famous suffer. But not really suffer because you don't want to see them like drawn and quartered. Like this isn't the French Revolution. We just want to see them, go mad.
Yeah. I don't know. But I equate it to like you're at a bar and a couple you don't know is that the bar starts fighting and you start taking sides. And it's like, what?
I've never taken sides, but I have eavesdropped. Like, because why not? You kind of go.
Yep.
So it's a shame, but it's probably time.
Yeah, it probably is. But I mean, it also doesn't necessarily mean the ends of the characters because they can pop up in
Yeah, it's just
it most likely will.
Yeah, of course. Marvel, like Marvel's one to let things go. They've already lost Iron Man and Captain America. Like they got to figure. They can't lose anybody else.
Right. And I also think there you go. I think Chris Pratt is in both that and Love and Thunder. Because remember, Thor left with the Guardians. Yeah.
So that's interesting too. Is we're going to get to see a different take on the Guardians, right? We're going to get to see Taika Waititi's version of the Guardians of the Galaxy for at least a brief period in Love and Thunder. I'm looking forward to seeing a trailer in that whenever that comes out.
It should be soon, right? It's this year, isn't it?
I would think so, because like again, Gunn's the guy that made a hiring for someone like Waititi possible, because he's not the type of guy they would go after. But Gunn made that more acceptable. I don't know. It's gonna be interesting to see what happens the next couple of years with this stuff.
Yeah, no, it is. And then something that would have been interesting, maybe 20 years ago. Now I think people are getting too old. Ron Perlman.
Oh yeah,
said I am eager to do Hellboy 3. No, I'm 71 effing years old, but we owe it to the fans.
Looks great for 71. I don't care if Guillermo del Toro wasn't coming back, right?
Okay.
I mean, it's the truth. Like Guillermo del Toro is the reason why those first two Hellboy movies are good. The last Hellboy movie sucked ass. Yep. So, Ron Perlman's awesome and perfect for Hellboy. Don't get me wrong, because he was great in those movies. But if Guillermo del Toro isn't coming back to do Hellboy, I have no interest.
No. I mean, that's true. Like they talked about it a while ago, and then the reboot happened, which I don't think anyone saw, and now Perlman's every once in a while it comes up. It's like, yeah, I'll do Hellboy through if they'll have me back. And
are they officially doing it? Like, was this like, is it greenlit and I just missed it?
No, he just keeps talking about it. And
he's speaking it into existence.
Abe Sapien, Doug Jones, who was one of the first celebrities we had on this podcast, said he would love to do a Hellboy 3 as well, but no one's calling him and asking him to come back. So
I was at a Comic-Con in 2009, and Doug Jones, me and a buddy of mine were playing video games with Doug Jones and some of his entourage, and he was all over my friend. It was hilarious. He was drunk and hitting on my buddy, and I was like, this is mildly entertaining. I'm going to sit back and watch this.
So yeah, but so as far as I know, Neil Perlman and Doug Jones both want to do Hellboy through, but Del Toro doesn't. So it's not going to happen, I don't think.
Another slow news week.
Yep.
Yes, it is.
And yet we've managed an hour and 10 minutes out of it.
That's what we do.
Yes. So
Blood from a stone.
so we do have a main topic this week.
I don't want to get to it.
We're all excited about. But before we get to that, we're going to take our last commercial break and we'll be right back.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Yeah.
All right, John. So people at home can't see your face, but you have a disturbed look on your face about our main topic tonight.
No, I'm anticipating the discussion. That's all.
So
I like this. I'll start off with that. I like Stranger Things.
Love it.
So last week, of course, JD convinced me to watch season 1 of Stranger Things, and so we could talk about it this week because I had never watched it before. Yes, for those who are longtime listeners and fans of the show, you should know by now I never watched it before, and it wasn't like any other reason than it just like the previews when I saw it didn't appeal to me. Like I don't see it something here I want to see, so I just didn't watch it. And of course, I would get pressured and badgered by people like John and our former co-host Ben. What do you mean you're not watching it? Go watch it. What's wrong with you? You would like it.
Oh my God, we've been a podcast as long as Stranger Things has been around. Wow, I just realized
it's going to be 9 years in May. So, so I watched it, and it wasn't bad, but I don't agree with the hype. How's that? And I think it's one of those things, like, before we get into this, and honestly, and we've talked about this before, I think at the time when it came out, there was so much hype around it, and everyone built it up as this like great thing, and then you go back and look at it years later, something you never looked at, and it's like, okay, but yeah. So let's see, let's get some information here. I got the page up. So season 1 was 2016, starring Millie Bobby Brown, and who else is in this thing?
Oh Jesus, Finn Wolfhard, David Arbor,
Winona Ryder. So okay, so that gets me to my first interesting point about this. Winona Ryder for every episode has top billing. Yet no one really talks about Winona Ryder being in this show.
Contract.
Everyone, what?
Contract. She was the biggest name of the show. Like, you know, she got
No, and I get that. And she was, obviously they thought she was the draw too, right? But everyone,
I don't know if they thought she was the draw so much as she was the only person who had a name. Because I don't think there's much value in Winona Ryder's name in the 2010s to the 20. You know, like now, like
yeah, she had a dip in her career.
Huge dip.
You hadn't seen her for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's on the upswing, but Millie Bobby Brown has become really big. So like
same Finn big. Like
Natalie Dyer to a lesser extent.
Great. She's great.
What about David Arbor?
Yeah,
David Arbor. He became a draw on the show. Like, this is what made David Arbor famous.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, he was in Law and Order.
Yeah, but this is the show that this is what made people take notice of him.
Okay.
And Finn Wolfhard got a cameo out of Ghostbusters out of this.
Well, I mean, everyone talks about Finn Wolfhard and Millie Bobby Brown, like the kids from the show, like that. And I get it too. After watching it, I get it. But it was also like no one ever goes, "Oh my God, Winona Ryder was amazing in it," which she wasn't.
She was good in this. Yeah,
but she's like, it's not her show.
No,
especially in this first season. This show in the first season is really about the kids. And then the second, third season, David Arbor becomes more of a presence in the show. Where in the first season, he's really a supporting player.
Right.
Like he becomes Eleven's dad.
Spoiler alert.
For a 5-year-old show. Okay. I'll spoil.
Yeah.
Like
I haven't seen any of the other seasons.
But she goes home with them at the end of the season, isn't that how this season ends?
No. So okay. So let me tell you what my.
You didn't like it, so you're not going to watch seasons 2 and 3. So I mean,
hold on. Let me speak. It's funny. I said, "Let me speak," and then my phone started. The thing came up like it wanted to. Google search.
Who do you want to speak to?
Yeah. So my first problem with the show, should not be a surprise. I've said this before. I don't like things where kids get hurt, kids die.
Oh, yeah, okay.
You know, like it really bothers me.
Don't read Pet Cemetery.
Well, we already did the Institute.
We did do the Institute. There was a lot of kids getting hurt.
A lot of kids getting hurt in that. Poor Barb. Like
yeah. Barb.
She did
Barb
nothing to
gets the
deserve.
shaft. Yes.
She did nothing to deserve that.
And the
Nothing.
Comic Cons after Stranger Things came out, like it became normal to walk past one of the support beams for the ceilings of the big spaces in a Comic Con and see posters all over it for, missing Barb, right?
Yeah.
So
that became a meme.
Yeah.
Poor Barb.
Yeah.
Like we didn't even get a funeral for Barb in the show.
We never found the body.
Yeah.
No, because it's in the upside down.
The upside down.
It was that and the Christmas lights. People walk around dressed in Christmas lights.
So, and then of course, we find out that Hopper's daughter died from cancer, and as a person whose granddaughter is being treated for cancer, well, it's like, yeah, I'm not liking that. And then, so let me get to the other thing that kind of like, by the time I was done watching, was the show ends with 11 disappearing. Because she kills what do they keep calling the?
Is this? I forget. Is this season?
Demogorgon, yeah.
Yeah. So she hits him with all her power, and they both disappear in like a cloud of stuff.
I believe there's a post-credit sequence at the end of the final episode of the season.
Oh well, no, it didn't come up because as soon as the credits started rolling on Netflix, when usually there's a post-credit scene, the credits it'll stay on. It went right to the next season.
I thought there was. Yes, she saved Hooper, Hooper saves her.
You mean Hopper?
Hopper, excuse me, Hopper.
Mr. Hooper's from Sesame Street.
Yes.
Well, that's a neat crossover.
So
they weren't hanging with Mr. Cooper. That's
so you just ruined season 2 for me. Thanks. It was though.
They do the first episode. Calm down.
You do find out that Hopper. They do show Hopper like leaving Eggos for her in the woods.
Oh, that's what it was. Yeah, she makes it. She's in all the advertising for seasons 2, 3, and 4.
Which makes you go, okay, maybe she's still in the upside down.
Well, how did you not know I mean, like it's you haven't seen any promo or anything. You know that Millie Bobby Brown's been big because she's been in every other episode of
I knew it, but come on, quiet. So what I'm getting at is the season definitely ends where the story feels half done. Like you have to watch season 2. Like, and that was like, when I was done watching it, it like made me upset.
No, it could have been a poignant ending, even if they didn't have a season 2 or anything after it.
I agree with John. I actually thought Stranger Things would have been better off if at the time, I thought it would have been better if it was an anthology show where they just did different stuff, right? Like, and just continued it with not necessarily ties to this. But season 2 is really good. So I was okay with what they did.
Yeah.
I don't know. To me, the fact that first off, Will is in the bathroom at the end of the show and he coughs up a slug. And it's like, obviously that's showing you something more is going on. And I really didn't like the fact that Nancy was back with Steve at the end of the show.
No, nobody liked that.
Right.
Nobody liked that.
Hold on. Okay. I'm going to tell you something. This is going to blow your mind, Dave. If you were to watch season 2 of Stranger Things, Steve is the best character, and you learn to love Steve. Steve totally goes through character change in season 2, and him and Dustin become like the best of friends.
But he said Nancy was a whore.
No, I know.
He spray painted that on a movie.
No. He went back and told his friends that they were wrong to do that.
Yes.
Yeah, I saw that, but he still was there and did it.
Dave, I'm gonna tell you this right now. He pays in spades for everything bad that he does in this first season. He is by this point in season 4 we're coming to, Steve is like it's like Jamie Lannister level of like you hate him, then you really like him. Right? They do such great work with the Steve character. Because I'm gonna be honest with you, she gets together, like that's her dude. Like her and Will's brother, whose name I'm forgetting at the moment because I haven't seen the show. They're a thing by season 2.
I can't think of his name.
The guy who played Cannonball.
Jonathan.
Yeah.
Jonathan and her, they're a thing. That they make that work. Right. And then Steve goes off and does his own stuff with Dustin, and it becomes like the best bromance ever. Like it's great. It's like this big brother, little brother dynamic. And then he meets Ethan Hawke's daughter in the 3rd season, and they're also awesome together. Like this stuff gets better. Like I forgot that was a thing because I thought the same thing too. Like how did she go back with him? There's such good writing for that specific character after the first season. He completely changes and redeems himself. But it's not like it's out of left field. Like, it redeems it. Like, they do actual good work with the Steve character. Because I forgot that Steve's a heel in the first season.
And that was one of the things about the writing. This is the kids. This isn't the Hogwarts kids, right? Like, these kids, they do stupid things and they pay for it, and they don't know everything, and they, you know, they're not the ones, like, they're not the Scooby Gang going around solving the mystery.
So
they're just involved in it, and they're trying their best to survive.
I agree. That's what makes these kids really great. Is because I feel like these are real kids that are acting like real kids would do in a supernatural situation.
Yeah, I mean, and I'll say, as an ensemble story, it's written well, because we're like, all the kids have something to contribute to the story, to the rescuing, and then by the time the kids and the adults get together, like, they all have a piece of like what's going on and figuring it out. Of course, they make what you think is the fatal mistake of first the parents, Hopper and Will's mother. I can't think of Winona Ryder's characters. Not Winona Ryder.
Joyce.
Yeah. Joyce and Hopper first go off, and then he breaks in and they get caught right away. And then and then the older two, Jonathan and Nancy, decide, now we're going to go do something to stop the Demogorgon. And then they leave the kids all by themselves at the high school. And it was just like, yeah, which ends up being a good thing by the end. Because when the teenagers fight the Demogorgon and then forces them back into the Upside Down, then they're able to find Will and get him out and all that stuff. But it was just like, oh man.
Yeah, I get where you're coming from. I get the frustration of wanting a complete story, because I see, but like having experienced the next two seasons, that stuff that frustrates you is delivered, and it does expand upon this universe and this overarching narrative.
Yeah, because that's the whole thing too, right? Like, and I want to say this too, like, as a person who's watched a lot of movies and read a lot of books, I get why they did set it in the 80s. It's not like everyone likes the nostalgia factor, but that's not something they lean heavily on in this season. I know,
which is good, because there are a lot of movies that would say, oh, it's an 80s movie, and they just basically hit you with the bat that says the 80s on it.
Well, I'm pretty sure they lean heavier on it in the second season, because I remember the promo for that, and it was Halloween, and they were all dressed as the Ghostbusters, the four kids.
That's like, it's one episode.
Yeah.
And they are very subtle with it throughout. And the third season, they did the mall thing. And it's like, it makes sense in the context of the story. Like,
right.
They don't make it exploitative of the 80s. Like, it's just it's a story that takes place in the 1900s.
But it makes sense because you're eliminating cell phones and the internet.
Mm-hmm.
And you for this to work as well as it did, you have to eliminate those things. Mm-hmm. Which is funny. Like, I don't know how modern story writers get around those things when they want to write stories like this.
You just do it. You use it. And you have to make the problems different,
But because that's the whole thing, is everyone's got a cell phone now with a camera on it. Someone would have gotten pictures of the Demogorgon, other than just the one that Jonathan accidentally took.
That is the biggest. I mean, one of the ways you deal with that is like Jim Butcher. People who use magic have an interference field around them, and the stronger they are, the bigger the interference field.
Or it's like this too, where you're not looking for it, where everything happens on a smaller scale, not a grand scale.
Right.
Because people still get murdered, and we don't have pictures of everybody that does it.
But true. But the thing that kind of made it feel like, and again, I am not asking to be everything explained and like thrown at me or spoon fed to me or whatever.
Well, I am, because I revel in minutia.
But at the end of the season, like, obviously, this was a government thing because there was military there, right? Or at least you're led to believe that. They don't fully explain who these people are, who the doctor is. I can't remember the character's name, who's doing these experiments. Through the flashbacks, through 11's flashbacks, you get the idea like they were using her psychic powers as like a military weapon and accidentally found the upside down.
The upside down. And then Martin Brenner too, played by Matthew Modine.
Matthew Modine's great.
So like they accidentally found the upside down, and then when they found it, he's like, "Oh, we've got to look into this. The doctor's like
any scientist would.
Any evil scientist.
Oh, I think all scientists would do something like that.
This leans so heavily into 80s movie tropes, though. And the clueless scientist that's like, we must science for science. And, meanwhile, the monster's sitting there going, you look really tasty.
So I think I like that about it, though, because again, I said it's the Stevens influence. It's a mixture
I'm not saying it's a bad
mixture
thing,
of King and Spielberg, right? Which is both that stuff influenced both of the work of the 1980s for both guys.
And maybe they explain it in the next season.
Not really.
No, the scientists are always stupid in this.
Mm-hmm.
But then then that's where it that's one of the things where it falls apart for me, because it's
okay, let me put this to you. You realize that they split the atom in 1945 and had no idea what was going to happen. They thought it would work out okay, but weren't.
No, I'm not talking about that.
Science just does, scientists just do things.
I understand what you're saying, but that's not what I'm getting at.
Okay,
what I'm getting at is this was a secret government military thing going on that accidentally opened up a portal to a parallel universe.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Now there are a dozen people walking around a Midwest town that all know about this. I'm sorry, our government wouldn't allow that. They'd all be dead.
You are not incorrect, but at some point, fiction has to do what fiction does, right?
But not only that, they killed a bunch of people that worked for. I mean, 11 did it to protect the other kids, but they killed a bunch of people that worked at this lab, melted their brains. You don't think there'd be an inquiry and an investigation on the government's part onto this? That's where it kind of starts falling apart for me. And I understand, fiction has to be fiction, but that's a little too much suspension of disbelief. Give me some explanation on why the government is believing it be.
You can go into it, though. It's okay, you've got all these people around the Midwestern town that know about it. You think killing off those people in a small Midwestern town is going to help the situation?
And there's an open doorway to a parallel universe that now a bunch of people know about.
Okay, let's put it this way. Let's say that this happens tomorrow. Me and my wife see this. What are we going to do with that knowledge?
Nowadays, you're going to make a YouTube video.
Nobody's going to believe them.
Nobody's going to believe you.
If they can't, they can't reliably take him and his family out until they know if he said anything to anybody. And in the age of the internet, he could have sent an email. He could have posted on Twitter. They have no idea where this information is.
Let's play this too. There's also plausible deniability in levels of the government. They don't talk to each other. We don't know who these guys will work.
You're explaining away the show.
No, I'm not. I'm telling you, this is just
I honestly, I think
if they had that knowledge, let's play in a real world scenario in a movie with monsters and stuff like that. If you saw an alien tomorrow and you and 10 of your friends saw an alien land and you had no proof and you went to the press, who would believe you?
If I had no proof, of course.
But they don't have proof.
But yes, they do. There's a fucking portal to another dimension in the middle of their town.
And
it has to be opened. It doesn't stay open all the time. The thing has to be opened.
Yeah, but who are they going to call?
Does it? They never said that.
Wait, whoa.
No, there was one in a tree that was just there.
Right, and then it vanished because the portals come and go. When she saw the one in the side of her trailer, she took an axe to it and went right through, and it was gone. Mm-hmm. Right. So and who's he going to call to go investigate?
Geraldo.
What?
It's 1985. Geraldo.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. He would get permission from the government to go on the government's going to do what she said. They're plausible deniability. It's but what are you talking about? There's nothing here. We can't.
I don't know. I just wanted
a research station. We can't let you
I wanted some explanation on why, they just let it go. That's all I wanted, why they let it go. Because obviously they came and got Hopper at the end of the episode.
They don't really let it go, though, is the thing.
Mm-hmm.
It keeps going. They're still dealing with it and the show. They're still trying to figure it out. And, these people have families and a bunch of little kids and a whole town gets wiped out. Then people ask questions.
Okay.
If you were to annihilate all of whatever the name of the town, Hawkins, Indiana, then the question becomes: why did this entire town get leveled? Then people are asking.
The more action they take in the sunlight, the more questions they're going to raise. So it's like JD was saying about dealing with magic and monsters in an urban fantasy setting. It's like small actions in the background that aren't going to be noticed.
That's the whole concept of these like supernatural thrillers.
Also,
these things happen, and it happens under the eyes of regular people, but you miss it because like you're so concerned with your own lives, and nobody, even if you saw it, who would believe you, right? Because we laugh at people who have UFO stories, or see the Wolfman, or see the Bigfoot.
Here's my other issue with it.
But the Loch Ness monster is real, damn it.
Here's my other issue with it. Like, I could accept that, except for the fact that in the second or third episode, when 11 shows up at the diner and the guy like helps her out and, cleans her up and gives her some food, he calls social services and one of the agents show up. And as soon as they see her, they kill him instead of just saying, oh, well, we're going to take her away because we're social services. Like, that's all they had to do. No, they killed him because he saw her. And then
because they're the bad guys.
But I'm saying, but then that vein disappears for the rest of the show.
They're all dead. At the end of it, they're all dead. They didn't
kill the teacher. They didn't kill the science teacher. I thought he was dead when every time they opened a door and she was standing there, I was like, okay, this person's dead. And it didn't happen again. And I'm
did she know how much he knew?
Yeah.
And they can easily get rid of the guy that took her in because
but again,
there
if
was
they're
nobody
trying to
there to see that she was ever there. So
if she's trying to keep 11 a secret, she would have killed more people.
Okay. We are just arguing this out. Like, you're sounding a lot like me, and I give this a pass.
It just bothered me. Like, don't kill the guy in the beginning, and then I would have accepted the whole show, or show her kill more people that know who 11 is or knows 11's alive.
There are much worse.
It's inconsistent.
There is much worse writing out there that you can drive trucks through the plot holes. It's not a plot.
It's just it was a very inconsistent use of of the story. I just it was like either
really sounding like me.
It just bothered me, and then again at the end, there's a freaking portal to another universe, and everyone's just okay with that.
Well, the portal disappears. I mean, it implodes. They keep losing it. Like, getting back there again in season 2, they try to go back, and
I did not get that impression. I did not get that impression at all from this season.
I hear why you say that. I understand that.
Every time they go down there, the thing's open.
Yeah, it's not the building destroyed, and they can't. It's hard to get back to. It's not like
but I'm saying that they didn't show or explain any of that in this. It was just like,
I don't know. Like, I'm of the mind that you are to infer that there are certain bits of knowledge that a viewer, reader, whatever, need to infer and put together. Like, that's personal opinion, but I get where you're coming from. I hear you. I hear your critique. Disagree, but I hear.
Remember, everyone has a right to their opinion.
I am the one that's usually arguing this side of things, though, and I'm not going to argue about that here because the writing was damn good.
Yeah, I agree.
And we are literally arguing about minutia at this point because you can explain. No, I mean it's there's a certain level of I'll let it go for this kind of thing, and this is way below the bar.
I'm not saying it was bad. I'm saying
UFO crashed in New Mexico and everybody saw it, and a bunch of people saw it.
Did they?
Yes, 100% they did.
Yeah, they saw a UFO. They saw an unidentified flying object. Yes, they did not see an alien spacecraft.
But again, if you say that, I saw a UFO, I saw aliens, and you go forward with this knowledge, everybody says you are cuckoos. You are cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. You are crazy. That's why you can let people who see things like that.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Believes you.
I'm sorry. Then there's another last little bit of information. A boy died, quote unquote, died. They found his body in a river, and they buried him, and then he came back.
That does happen, and it messes the kid up big time in the next couple of seasons.
But I'm saying, and the town just accepted that.
Wouldn't you?
No. I would be the asshole that'd be like, wait a minute, I fucking saw your body in the casket and we fucking buried you. Like,
but it's not the first time something like that's happened where people have been thought to have been dead and it turns out not. Like, it doesn't happen. I'm not saying it happens every day, but that has happened.
But I'm saying people who were at the funeral who saw the body in the casket, like, No, I would be like, fuck you. What the
Again.
hell's going on here?
Again, we're just nitpicking. How about what do you think of the writing though, of the characterizations or the story?
I'm telling you, I'm telling you my issues with the writing. Like, you can't just leave this stuff hanging. Like, oh, I just accept it. Yeah, no one asked questions. This boy just came back out of nowhere, and everyone just accepted.
No, Dave. People did not just accept,
but they didn't show it at all in the season.
They did in season 2.
But I didn't see season 2.
Then you can't make that comment that they don't. You can't make comments on that. They didn't do this because they didn't get to it yet. And that's the thing with serialized fiction is like, it is not on the view. If you could say, well, I have a problem with this, this, and this, and I could say, well, this, and this are addressed. You're like, well, not at the time that I wanted it addressed. That's not how that works.
Well, then again, I also will go back to inconsistency because again, they make it appear like the portal's always open in the show.
Okay.
Then if you're telling me that it disappears and whatnot, like that was not clear at all.
That it wasn't clear by her taking an axe to the side of her double wide.
That wasn't a portal. That wasn't actually that wasn't a portal like the ones they were going through, like the one in the tree and the one in the laboratory.
Yeah. All right. Look, we are arguing about minutia. I personally, overall, this is a must watch for me. This is like between the 80s nostalgia, the 1,001 references to 80s movies, you name it, there's a reference in there, including just about everything of Spielberg's work. You know, all the fact that they managed to characterize the kids appropriately. No, there's nobody here that's perfect, and you know, everybody learns. And the storyline, the storyline's pretty cool for science fiction. So
yeah, science fiction, dark fantasy, supernatural thriller, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Like I said, it channels the 80s, taking place in the 80s. I think channels a good place where stuff like that was possible.
Okay, I do have a question. I may have missed something.
Okay.
It was the only thing. It was one of the other things that kind of like, but I kept saying maybe I missed something. Why did the Demogorgon take Will in the beginning of the show?
It was finally getting through at the time, you know?
Yeah, just a victim. You know, why does a serial killer kill?
Well, because they made a point
that it was attracted by blood.
That he was attracted to blood for the rest of the show.
Right,
so that's,
but the portals were just starting to open. So if it finds a portal, it's going to go through it, right?
Yeah, it just was a wrong place, wrong time.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. I think that's another thing. Like, if I was writing it, I would have made one little thing and had him just scrape something and cut himself, and establish that right away with the blood.
I swear we've swapped brains on this.
I mean,
I'm usually the one nitpicking. I don't.
I chose him because I think he's the one that fell behind. He was the weakest of the group.
Fell behind. He was alone. He was at home.
That's what I'm saying. He's behind. He's alone. He's by himself. There's not a there's strength in numbers, which is again horror movie trope. Strength in numbers. You get divided.
Yeah.
Alone. It's also right out of Salem's Lot.
Strength in numbers. Unless you're 11, you can drop the entire the entire other team.
If you're a mutant, you can do that. So yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and then
I get why I understand your critiques. I do not share them, but I understand where you're coming from. Like I said, stuff. I don't think that kind of a thing. I mean, like personally, for me, if I'm watching a show about monsters and alternate parallel universes, like that other things just don't bother me as much because I can accept. Because again, when you accept the premise of it, like, okay, why didn't the government just come by and drop nuclear weapons on the entire town? Well, because you couldn't do that, right?
Yeah, I'm not saying that.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, it's taking it to like absurd comparisons,
right?
Like again, I think these things are more fun to imagine if these things do exist and not enough people know about them, or maybe is it the entire government? Did the Reagan administration know about them, or was it just this little sect who isn't telling people? Right, as we learn in all these subcommittee meetings that like the CIA and the FBI don't talk to each other.
Well, and that's I mean, I guess, and maybe I don't know, maybe it's in season 2. Like that's something that would have been more interesting to me. Like then other agents have to come and clean up the mess, and like they didn't know what was going on there.
Right, because nobody wants to admit that they were the reason that people disappeared out of a small town and drew attention to their science project. So they would have wiped everything, and that means that the next crew comes in that has got no idea what they're dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
Right, because it even says that at one point when they have Hopper captured at the end, or when they have the Joyce and Hopper captured, and he's like, oh, he's saying to Joyce that 11 people have been taken so far, or 12. I don't remember what number he said. Help me stop this. Like, I don't know if that's true or not because it's the bad guy, so you don't know. But it's like, well, if that many people have gone missing out of a small town, people start talking. So
right, exactly. But only one kid went missing from the small town. He came back.
No.
Two, Barb disappeared too. But again, this stuff is brought up again.
Yes.
Like
Poor Barb.
This stuff is addressed for the most part.
For the most part.
I mean, there's some things that, but I mean, like, the government has not left Hawkins alone, right? Now, other governments are involved too. Other people have noticed this.
Yep.
Like, people are not totally cool with Will. Will is not totally fine, right? 11, there are people asking questions. Like, this all continues.
Okay. Well, I mean, I guess too, like, in stark contrast, the Institute, like, Stephen King did a really great job of writing it in a way where, like, you don't question why no one is questioning the existence of this institute because it's hidden so well, and they explain, like, the people that work there are in, like, a little encampment around it. Like, that's where they live. Like it's kept secret.
By the same token, Stephen King also wrote Firestarter. Firestarter has a lot of the same DNA as the Institute. He wrote Firestarter in his late 20s. And the secret, like, the shop and the Institute are very similar, but, the shop was not nearly as hidden as the Institute is. So a lot of things you're talking about, the same writer fell into those same traps earlier in his life. So there's a big part, I think, the Institute was his chance to pull Firestarter off cocaine,
Yeah.
where he was a little more focused.
Right.
This time around. So, I mean, like, because I think having just read the two of them, not back to back, but within like a year of each other, like, I saw the parallels and I saw where Zuff zigs instead of zags. So I do think a lot of Institute is his chance to go back and make more sense out of Firestarter that wasn't making sense at the time.
Yeah. Well, who are the guys that did this?
Oh my God, what are the Duffer Brothers?
The Duffer Brothers. Maybe they were doing cocaine. I will say that too. Like, they wrote it and it looked like they directed every episode too. So
their vision.
It's totally their vision, right? It's not like someone said, "Oh, well, let me just change this or change that." So yeah. So I know John's upset with me.
Oh, I'm not upset. No. I'm just interested to figure out. I'm just trying to think of the reason why you're so nitpicky about this one. That's all.
Because it didn't click him. It didn't just click with Dave. Like, again, the characters and that kind of stuff just didn't win him over as much. And art hits people in different ways.
That'd do it.
If you feel a connection to the material, you let some of the stuff you might let some things slip past you. But if you're not feeling connected to it, and if the stuff is bothering you, like the child murder and the child death stuff bugged Dave, so maybe the defenses were up extra.
I was going to say, if I had watched this, I'm trying to do math, 8 years ago when it first came out, I probably would have got swept in 2016.
That's 6 years.
Oh,
I mean, COVID makes it seem longer. But
it really does. It really does.
I did maths wrong in my head. If I had watched this 6 years ago when it first came out, I probably would have got caught up in the hype with everyone. And
there's a lot to that too. Hype does make for a big difference. Hype does when you get caught in a moment. Because there's a lot of times if you miss out on something, you look back on, you go like, I don't get it. I'm guilty of that. There's a lot of things that I've watched after, like, ex post facto, and you just don't feel it.
Yeah.
Right?
I think this still holds up though.
I do too, but yeah, if it doesn't get you, it doesn't get you.
Right. Yeah, no, agreed. And that's what I'm saying. Like, if I had watched it when it first came out, I probably would feel differently about it. But looking back on it, I mean, I know people who will remain nameless that didn't watch Firefly when it came out, and then they went back and watched it. It's like, I don't get this. I know people that.
Good thing you didn't name them.
I know people who say that about the X-Files, and other stuff that, like, I love, and they're just like, yeah, I don't get it. Like, because they didn't watch it when it first came out. They're looking at it with a modern lens and they're like, this just isn't good.
You see, now the X-Files is something that never grabbed me.
Never?
No. And it's weird because I loved Kolchak, but X-Files never grabbed me.
I never I was a little young for X-Files, I think. And then, like, because I think I just didn't hit me in the right spot at the right time. Like I was too young for it. And then when I was older, it had already been like this big thing. So I was kind of like, I missed it. I missed Breaking Bad, and I have no urge to go back and watch it, because you missed. Sometimes it feels like you missed, you missed the zeitgeist. But I was in on Game of Thrones, so like, and I'm still an apologist. I'm still a Game of Thrones, mainly because I love the characters so much.
How can you love the characters? They all get killed.
That's part of the reason I love the characters. Because anything can happen.
Yeah, that's true.
That's
all right.
Of the shows, anybody could die. Will you watch season 2, or are you so turned off that you're done?
As a person who wants a complete story, I kind of want to watch season 2 just to see if it answers some of my questions I have from season 1 and answers some of my feelings about season 1. And if it doesn't, then I probably won't watch anymore.
That's fair. I think that's a very fair thing to say. Like a lot of times, if I'm not in on season 1 or something, I will not go back. I will not give another season a chance. So I was literally just curious if you would consider season 2.
Yeah, no, I probably will.
I think season 2 is better than season 3.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
and it season 1 and season 2 are like basically like say Halloween 1 and Halloween 2.
It feels like one story.
Yeah. There's season 3. It felt like season 3 felt a little bloated, but I still like the characters, and I like the adjustments because they gave us some new villains in season 2, some human villains that are different that I dug. Like they get a new kid joins the group.
That's another thing. And it's a very 80s. There's a lot of 80s tropes in this show.
It's an 80s. Yeah, it's
a ton.
It's supposed to. They do it on purpose. They steer into the skid.
And that's the whole thing. The doctor. There's no explanation of him whatsoever. He's just the mustache trolling bad guy for the sake of being a bad guy. That's it. Like there's no backstory. There's no nothing. Like yeah. So
I don't know. I kind of like that on my villain. Okay, I have this personal belief on villains. Like
okay.
And I'll just pontificate this for a moment, but not everybody, but I do like this. I do think sometimes when we give too much of a backstory to a villain, you defang the monster a little bit, right? So sometimes I think the less you know about a villain, the more powerful they are, right? And I think the idea of Dr. What's his name in the show, John? Again, what is Matthew Modine's character's name?
Matthew Modine. Where'd it go? Oh,
I think.
Yeah, where is he? Shoot, Matthew Modine. There it is. Martin Brenner.
Dr. Brenner is scarier when you know nothing about him, because then it seems like everything he's doing is just malevolent, right?
It can go either way though, because one of the tropes in anime, in really good anime, is the backstory. Like Japanese have taken to an art form where the backstory actually defines a character and can make you hate them more.
Oh, I don't disagree with that at all. I'm just, like I said, when you're portraying with a show about actual monsters, right? Because that's what the show's about. It's about monsters.
Oh yeah, you need a human that's a monster, as monstrous as them.
And when you know too much about the monster isn't scary anymore.
So
for me, the idea that they don't tell us exactly what he's doing helps, and it helps us sympathize with 11 a little bit more, because 11 doesn't understand what's happening to her.
I get that with a character like the Joker. You give the Joker a backstory, it defangs him, and he's not the Joker anymore. But again, comparing this to the Institute, creating villains who believe they're doing this for the security of the world, but they're, quote unquote, could be wrong, and they're changing the future, kind of a thing. Like
there's zealots, like it's like a
zealot. That's it. That's it. Thank you.
Some of the most monstrous things ever done in this world,
right? That's
by people who thought they were the hero.
Exactly.
That's scarier. Like I kind of thought they were going to go that route with the character, and they didn't give you anything really.
I think if the show was about adults, they would have. But I think with the focus being on kids, is oftentimes kids are left in the dark about motivation, and kids boil things down.
Yeah, true.
Black and white and too simple, So I think that keeping Dr. Brenner, again, because it's told through 11, specifically Dr. Brenner is so much told from 11's perspective, the
Yeah.
more we learn about him and what that, because I don't think we've learned the operation's called. Like, it makes
No.
it more about them and not so much about her, who's this victim of this. And again, you learn more about her as we go along. We get to know more about 11, and you start putting those pieces together a little bit. But again, you never really know about Dr. Brenner because he's Dracula.
Yeah, that's a good thing. Like,
And
yeah,
Bram Stoker, we don't know about Dracula. Dracula's just this vampire. We didn't get
Right.
that cool Vlad Tepes thing. Like, he's just evil.
Right. No, I get it. I mean, and that's the thing, because again, the only thing you get about what's going on at I'm going to call it the Institute, the laboratory, is that, again, it felt like they were doing this to use her as like a spying.
They were
spying weapon, and accidentally tapped into the parallel universe. And then it was like, oh, okay, well, let's go investigate this parallel universe.
That's what they did. Yeah, that's
yeah, and
let's see.
But that's all you know.
Yeah.
That's all you know. That's it. And it's just this one guy running the whole thing. And 11 calls him Papa, but you find out that's not her Papa.
Yeah. Right. And I think what I think you're supposed to feel is you're supposed to feel like for the child, like your focus is supposed to be on feeling for 11, right?
Yeah.
You're just supposed to feel for her being exploited, and she doesn't understand anything, right? And in season 2, she starts to figure out the world a little bit more. And it's part of the charm of Millie Bobby Brown, you know?
That also raises the question too: if she's 11, where's 1 through 10?
Dead.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess they explain that at some point.
They're all dead.
Ow. Thanks. So now I know that there's 10 dead kids in front of her.
10 dead kids, yes, and she will be the 11th dead kid, and they will build a 12.
You just put another nail in the coffin for this show.
I get it. If you're not comfortable with the murder of children, maybe this wasn't for you.
I hope no one listening to this show is comfortable with the murder of children.
Like I said, I'm a Stephen King fan. They're all, they're all fodder for entertainment.
Yep. There is no safe character really.
Oh my God.
Again, as a writer, I like that because it keeps you on your toes. If you feel that none of the characters are safe,
it's a way to also give instant emotional investment into something.
Absolutely.
Well, it can be overused though.
Oh, absolutely.
Like that. Well, for the last 10 years, people have used that's been like a trope now, where it's like they get you invested in somebody right away and then kill them just so that the writer shows you that he means business.
100%. Characters are created just to kill. Sometimes it can be good, sometimes not. Okay, so did you guys see the original Pet Sematary movie?
Oh yeah.
Right. Did you see the remake?
I think I saw the remake.
The remake is trash because they change in the original story, the little boy died.
Yeah.
Bury him, he comes back, zombie kid, he's evil. In the movie, it's the daughter that dies.
Huh.
Right? And when this first happened, I was like, whoa, that's different. But then I was like, okay, there's more narrative possibility with a child who's a little bit more aware. It doesn't, I was accepted. And by the end of the story, the very end of the movie, the mom and the dad are all reborn evil people. And the little boy is in the car by himself. And these evil people surround the car, and you see him surround the little boy, and the movie cuts to black. And I was like, I'm out.
Yeah.
I'm out. And I have I have a big tolerance for this kind of stuff. Like, it didn't like the idea that these people were going to kill this 2-year-old got me. Like, that was it. I'm like, I'm done. I'm out. Like, that was too much for me. So everyone has like that.
Good. I'm glad you have a line somewhere.
I do have a line, and it turns out the murder of 2-year-olds by monsters is my line. Like, again, it didn't deliver. Like, it didn't. There's this like Pet Sematary is his most nasty story, and it's I felt like they were trying to turn up a nasty story and make it nastier, and it felt gratuitous by the
end.
Yeah. I mean, the story was already bleak as it was.
Yeah, it's incredibly bleak. It's far and away his most bleak story. He says that too. He's like, this is easily the most bleak thing I've ever written.
That's when he was off the cocaine trying to kick that.
No, he was on it. He was on it. Like his little Owen King almost got hit by a truck.
Oh, yeah, and that's the scene.
That's the scene. He wrote it, and then they were spending a week, a summer up at some place, and busy road, and there was a pet cemetery in the backyard, and he was like, this is weird. And he was inspired by all this crap to write this bleak ass story, that even he's not a huge fan of,
Yeah.
But again, like, and the filmmaker felt like they said, okay, this story, we're going to make it gnarlier. And it was just, I don't know.
It's time to turn things up a notch.
Yeah,
now.
it's like you didn't have to. It's Pet Cemetery, man.
Yeah.
Like you didn't have to turn that up. So I get where you're coming from, Dave. I understand it, and we all have that line. Right?
Yeah.
You know, so I get it. That's a perfectly valid reason not to like. Because again, if you have issues with kids and this stuff, yeah, I get it.
All right. Well, there you go. I watched it. I'll let you guys know if I watch season 2.
Hey, I appreciate you talking. Appreciate you stepping out of not a comfort zone, but just watching something you weren't terribly interested in to begin with and giving it the old college try.
Yes. All right. Well, we're not going to rate a 6-year-old show at this point, and we didn't even.
Dave was lukewarm. That's all you got to know.
We didn't even give you spoiler warnings. So, on that note, guys, have any recommendations for our audience? John,
you really want to ask me that?
Sure, recommend something, man.
Well, I mean, considering Gen 5 is out now.
That's right. The whole first half hour of the show is John recommending My Little Pony Generation 5.
Yeah, because the anime seasons are on, and I don't know. Yeah, I don't really have anything other than step out of your comfort zone. Doesn't have to be, My Little Pony Generation 4, like the first season. Although I do challenge people to watch like the first 3 episodes and then decide for themselves what that show is. But other than that, I don't think go find something that challenges you. Watch something new. Or read one of JD's books.
Read one of JD's books.
Read one of JD's books, yes.
I'm having the best month on Amazon in quite some time, so please read my books.
Excellent.
Yes. Business is up.
All right.
COVID still keeping people home. Got to read something.
Yay, Omicron. No. That's not even funny.
Jeez, we almost went through an entire episode without mentioning it.
Without mentioning this plague. Yes, came close.
All right.
Yeah. 2K people are dying every day. Yeah.
JD, how about you? Got any recommendations?
I will not recommend COVID.
No.
2 out of
That's
3
definitely 1 star.
2 out of 3 of us have had COVID, and I don't think either of us would rate it very high.
No. It's very low on my list.
Yes,
I boarded up my front door, so
I've rated it poorly on the app. 1-star review at most.
Yep.
Would not recommend to friends. I'm in the process. We're talking about King on this, big King fan. I want to finish up The Dark Tower. I've got the last audiobook, but I have to read a couple of their books before I get to it because apparently they're the reference. So I started Hearts in Atlantis the other day, specifically the short story of Low Men in Yellow Coats. That was actually what the movie Hearts in Atlantis was based on. The Low Men are evil creatures who serve the Crimson King.
Okay.
So far, so good. It's read The Dark Tower. Dark Tower is great. But I'm reading this Hearts in Atlantis right now, and I'm liking it. So I haven't finished yet, so I can't give it like a full thumbs up. But so far, so good.
So good. Thumbs in the middle at the moment.
Thumbs edging up to I'm liking it.
All right, cool. Well, you know what? I'll recommend that you go to superheroespeak.com where you can find the podcast every week. Links to all our social media at the top of the page and comic book reviews by our good friend D Square. And let's see. You know what I'm going to recommend? I'm going to recommend you go watch Batman and Robin, because that's what we will be talking about on the podcast next week, boys and girls. So if you've never seen this classic starring George Clooney and
starring Arnold Schwarzenegger, he got top billing.
And Arnold Schwarzenegger, do yourself a favor.
That's how bad it was.
And go see it on HBO Max. So that and we'll be joined by our good friends D Square and 8-Bit Ray to discuss.
Even for an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie, the puns in the first 10 minutes alone are ridiculous.
Even cartoons wouldn't go so far.
The one and only Batman and Robin.
The cartoons treated this with much more reverence.
The last
piece of shit.
The last live action Robin that you got.
That's true. Until Titans.
Titans.
Which is only watched by my friend Scott.
Yeah, I tried getting into it, but after Robin said, fuck Batman.
Fuck Batman. I saw a commercial, I'm like, I'm out. I have no interest in this.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, boys and girls, as always, thanks for listening. And don't let your bat cape get caught in Robin. Have a good week.
Caught in Robin?
Ew.
What the hell?
I think you do not. I think that means something you do not think.
No.
Next week on Superhero Speak, Frederick Wortham.